Welcome back to Unquiet You. Today we're going to talk about being the nice girl and the black sheep of the family and how they can go hand in hand and transform your life. So to start out with, I was always taught to be the nice girl, the girl who was the people pleaser, who kept the peace. I think it's very common for us to do this. We have traditions that were raised on, roles that we were raised on. In my family, my mom stayed home. She cooked dinner. She did all the things at the house. My father went to work every day. He was home at 5. We all sat down at 5 o'clock the minute he walked in to eat dinner. She was just always on. Like, she was always the mom who was smiling behind the scenes or, smiling in front of the scenes. I didn't know as a child what was going on behind the scenes, but she was always the doer. She was always the PTO mom, the do all the things, baking all the things. I remember as a young child, every morning when we would wake up, she would have my dad's cereal bowl sitting out with his coffee cup sitting out in his seat ready for him. And then the minute he woke up, she would pour the cereal, pour the coffee. And I remember as a kid thinking, oh, that sounds miserable. Like, why would anyone do that for a man? But I also knew that was just how she had created the family. Like, that was her role. That was her playing nice and, kind of fitting the mold that she thought she needed to fit. She also picked out my dad's clothes for him every single day. And I always remember thinking like, wow, is this my life? Is this what I'm going to do? As I got older, I'm like, so you get married and then you have babies and then like you become the housekeeper and the mom and the doer of all the things. And as I got older, I realized that, we were always told the black sheep of the family was the person who didn't follow the rules, who went against the grain. They were the bad kid, right? Like, they were the ones who didn't appreciate their family and didn't value their family. And the older I got, the more I realized I was the black sheep. And it wasn't because I was a rule breaker. It wasn't because I didn't value my family. It's because I saw patterns that I didn't want to keep going. I wanted to break a bunch of patterns. I wanted to parent different. I wanted to show up different. And I knew that I wanted to stop some of the negative cycles I saw coming throughout my teenage years and my adult years. I remember the being quiet and not having an opinion. That was the nice girl thing to do, right? Like, that was your role as the female in the family. Like, don't have an opinion and just go with the flow, because if you ruffle this feather, then everything else is going to get thrown off, and you're going to upset other people. And I remember there was a situation when I got pregnant at 17. You want to talk about ruffling feathers? I pretty much threw every rule out the door. And I remember how embarrassed my mom was that I was pregnant. And the older I got, the more I realized that she wasn't sad for me. She was embarrassed for how other people were going to view her, because that wasn't the life that society told her that she was supposed to have, right? Like, she had 3 kids and we had this family and we were a blended family. I had a stepdad who adopted us at a very young age and he was the only dad we ever knew. But when I got pregnant, I broke the mold, and I had a sister who had her own issues growing up, but my mom was able to cover that pretty well for the outside world. And, but when I got pregnant, clearly you can't hide that, and it's outward. So I remember at that moment thinking, okay, something's got to shift inside of me. Like, I can't be the person who is okay with this. I can't be the person who's okay with being mistreated and being talked down to and not having an opinion. I didn't know what it looked like at the time, because I also never wanted to let my mom down. She had been there for me, my whole life. And when we would talk about roles in families, I would see other women in my family. My grandmother, for example, she was your classic grandmother. She cleaned and cooked and baked and did all the fun grandma things. Sometimes she would go on field trips with me if my mom couldn't come at school, or she would just do all the very, very grandmotherly things to do. And my grandfather was kind of an asshole. He mistreated her. He talked down to her. He never respected her for what she was doing or who she was. She raised all of their kids. She was very involved in all of our kids or all of our lives as grandchildren. And I just remember always thinking like, this is so messed up. Like he would put on a show. And that was probably the first time in my life I saw a person who would be one way, literally on the way to church, yelling and cussing and telling her how horrible of a person she was, get out of the car. We would walk into church and you would literally think they were the happiest couple in the world, that he was doting on her and talking to everyone about how great she was. And I think I was 13 the first time that happened. And I was like, this is not right. Like, this is not okay. And so all of these things kept playing in my head, but I was always told, like, be the nice girl. The nice girl always is the one who gets what she wants and follows the rules. And, men only want to marry nice girls. Like, men only want to be with the girls that are going to, be the stay-at-home moms and do all the things. And I really struggled with that, especially after I did get pregnant and have a baby. Now I'm a young single mom with a baby. And so then I was told, like, over and over, well, now you've broken the mold and, like, it's going to be really hard to find a nice guy who wants to have a life with you. So now you have to even be more like what society tells us, more like the old school way of thinking, of almost letting go of who you are and what you want for a man. I think I get a lot of slack from people who tell me, I'm married to my high school sweetheart. I love him so much. And you talk negatively about being in relationships, and I don't at all. I just think that we're here to break a mold that's no longer working. It's no longer working for us to be the nice girls who don't say what we want to say, don't express our feelings, and accept something that's less than, just to follow the rule book, just to keep the family together. When I quit going to family events, it was like, you would have thought, a bomb went off. Like, how dare you not show up to my house for Christmas? How dare you not do this? And I had started putting boundaries in place, saying, like, I wanted to raise my child the way I wanted to raise him. And when they would come in wanting to raise him the way they wanted to raise them, or they wanted me to do the things that they wanted, we started having a lot of problems, because I realized that I had to break the mold and start really, really setting up for myself, or I was going to keep this cycle going. And, having the black sheep, like the title behind me, my daughter-in-law sent me something a while back, and it was about the black sheep. And she's like, I thought about you and I saw this. And at first I was like, oh, that name, the black sheep of the family, I don't like it. But it's true. Like, I was the one who said, I'm going to break this mold. I'm going to teach my children how to have boundaries. I'm going to teach my children that they don't have to follow my opinions in life. Like, I can have opinions based off my life, and they can make choices based off their lives. And this is what gave me permission to say, you get to have a life too. Like, you get to say, this doesn't work for me. You get to say, I'm not always available for you. And as my shift from, like, nice girl started changing, a lot of it in the beginning, I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't know what to do with it. And so what happened is I was, like, outwardly trying to do the opposite, right? I was like, well, I don't want to be the nice girl. So now I'm going to be the opposite and the mean girl, because I didn't know what that looked like. Being told you're the black sheep was so bad and dark, and being told you're the nice girl was just too good for me. I'm like, I don't know where that in between is. And so it's taken me a long time, and it's taken me really good boundaries within myself to learn that I can be the black sheep of the family and also be a kind person, but I no longer have to be the nice person that sets the mold, that follows the rules because other people have done it years before. Like, this is how our family has functioned. This is how it works. You go, you get married, you have kids, your kids are going to be raised the same way. Like, all of these things don't make you good or bad. It just makes you different. And what I focus on a lot is that I'm creating new cycles for my kids and new cycles for their kids when they start having children, that it's really cool to watch and unfold, because we all have different dynamics and we all see life in such a different way. When my children, when they do things with their children, they're very different than what I would have done, but our lives are so different. Like, I wasn't in their position when I had a son. I was very young. And so my first few years of raising him, I literally was in flight or fight mode the whole time. And I was so worried about what other people thought of me, because being the nice girl meant I had already disrupted that with my family. I already embarrassed my mom. And here she was, a great mom who raised us and was always on and, had the makeup done and always looked good in front of everyone. And now I've outwardly embarrassed our family. So I already had that pressure on me of, trying to fix it in a way. And that was kind of when I really saw too, I can't fix this, and there's nothing to be fixed. There's nothing, this was my life. I don't have to follow the paths of everyone else. And as I started uncovering all of this, I realized every family has this, right? Every family has secrets they don't want people to know about. And, early pregnancies that, people have hidden, oh, I didn't tell my kids that, I actually had them when I was younger, or whatever it may be. Everyone has something. And I really, really wanted my kids to know, we got to break this mold. We don't have to cover up who we are and what we want and pretend to be one way. I don't care if my kids get married at a certain age. I don't care if I get remarried at a certain age. I feel like there's no rules for us to follow. And a lot of people have come back to me and said, that's the black sheep. You didn't hold your family together. And I did hold my family together. My family is very tight, but it looks different because I've distanced myself from my extended family, because I needed to break the mold. I needed to stop being toxic and playing a role that no longer fit who I was. And so I've really been talking to a lot of women about the nice girl persona and how we can still be a kind person and we can still talk to people in a nice way and care for other people and take other people into consideration, but we don't have to do it at the expense of ourselves anymore. So I want people to know today that it's okay for you to say what works for your parents isn't going to work for you when you're raising your children. It's okay to say what worked in their marriage isn't going to work in your marriage. It's okay to say, I don't want to be married. It's okay to say, I do want to be married. It's okay to say whatever you want to do in your life. It is okay, because we don't have to keep going on the same cycle that our parents raised us in. And we have permission to go be and do whatever we want to do and become whoever we want to become. And that's what, not only this podcast, but this is what I coach on a lot, is that, a lot of these cycles have been embedded in us years and generation after generation. And it takes a lot of work to really, really be able to stand on your own and saying, I'm not standing for this anymore. It's not okay. And that's what we work on in my one-on-one coaching, is that these are tools that you have to learn. A lot of times we are unlearning things that we've been told our whole lives. We're unlearning that, we don't have to accept certain behavior from other people, and the name calling or the family secrets, those kind of things, they're just not going to cut it anymore. And it's up to us. I always say, when I look at my kids, I'm well, if nothing else, I created another generation that has permission to go and be who they want to be. And my hope is that when they have kids and they raise their kids, it's even better, right? They're doing things even better than what I was able to do things for my kids. Also, I think I'm at a place in my life where I get to go and do and be completely unapologetically. I don't care if the tradition in my family was a certain way. I get to decide what a new tradition is. Part of that too is even transitioning from, being a single mom to being married with a bunch of kids to now being divorced and most of our kids being grown. holidays look different, and I get to start new traditions, and I love that. And I started with them last year, and I think that that's okay. Like, we don't always have to have the same thing over and over and over. And I just want everyone to understand that, like, you have permission to go and be who you want to be. And whether you're called the black sheep or not, it's okay. Like, I actually wear that with pride now, because I truly want the generation that was after me, I want my children to understand that this world is so big, and we need them to show up as who they authentically are, not who the family thinks that they should be. So thanks for listening. Thanks for being here and for choosing to be a little louder, a little braver, and a whole lot more you. If this episode spoke to you, I'd love it if you subscribed, left a review, or shared it with someone who needs it. Until next time, keep tuning in to the fire inside. Stay unquiet.